If you want the world to open its doors for you, you must stop looking for the nearest exit every time you face resistance. This is not a gentle suggestion. This is the fundamental law for those who intend to rise above mediocrity. The difference between the man who succeeds and the man who merely exists is not luck, nor circumstance, nor some mystical alignment of stars. The line is drawn by a single, unwavering trait: persistence. The man who persists, who clings to his vision long after enthusiasm fades, is the man who bends life to his will. Every shortcut you are tempted to take is nothing more than an invitation to mediocrity disguised as a reasonable compromise. Every time you quit, you teach your mind that your word is meaningless, that your desire can be bought off by the first obstacle that presents itself. Your life, as it stands, is a sum of what you have persisted in and what you have abandoned. Take a hard look at your current results: financial, relational, physical. Are you where you want to be? If not, it is not because you lack intelligence or resources. It is because somewhere along the way you chose quitting over persistence. Every great achievement in history was once an idea no one else believed in, except for the one person who refused to quit. Do not delude yourself into thinking you are the exception to this rule. There are no prodigies of success, only products of perseverance. Let's strip away the illusions that seduce you into quitting. The path to anything worth having is paved with resistance, discouragement, and setback. Those who seek comfort will always find an excuse to quit. Money is tight, support is lacking, the world is unfair. But excuses are the diet of the unsuccessful. You must train your mind to see every obstacle as evidence that your goal is valuable. If it were easy, it would be crowded. The empty road is reserved for the persistent. When defeat knocks, the quitter folds. But the persistent man asks, "What is this moment here to teach me?" The persistent man is not deterred by temporary setbacks. He is fueled by them. Each challenge is a signal to strengthen his resolve, to adjust his approach, and to recommit to the destination. The man who keeps moving, even when the terrain becomes hostile, becomes a force that cannot be denied. The habit of quitting is a cancer. Each time you indulge it, you weaken your ability to face the next challenge. The cure is simple. Decide that you will never again let the impulse to quit dictate the outcome of your life. Success is not an event. It is a character that is forged over time through repeated acts of persistence. Every overnight success you admire is the product of years, sometimes decades, of invisible labor and unheralded persistence. The world only celebrates the outcome, never the persistence that made it possible. If you are waiting for applause, you are still addicted to approval, not committed to results. You must develop the self-respect that comes from seeing things through, not for the eyes of others, but for your own sense of identity. Examine your daily habits with brutal honesty. Do you stop at the first sign of resistance, or do you continue with purpose, undeterred by temporary setbacks? The persistent man knows that feelings are fickle and that discipline is what carries him when motivation is absent. When the initial excitement wears off, and it always does, do you press forward, or do you seek a new distraction, a new goal, a new reason to quit? You cannot build anything lasting on a foundation of quitting. Decide now that you will not negotiate with your goals. The man who refuses to quit, who persists long after it becomes fashionable to quit, is the one who is handed the rewards at the end. Persistence is not stubbornness for its own sake. It is intelligent, adaptive, relentless pursuit. When one approach fails, the persistent mind does not quit. It adapts, it innovates, it learns. There is no shame in failing. There is only shame in quitting. If you persist, your failures become stepping stones. each one bringing you closer to your objective. If you quit, your failures become the gravestones of your abandoned dreams. Make a habit of persistence, and you will begin to see life bend to your will, not because it is easy, but because you have become too formidable to be denied. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. They do not exist. Every success story is written in the margins of imperfect circumstances. The only advantage the persistent have over the rest is the refusal to be stopped by inconvenience, discomfort, or temporary defeat. If you demand ease and certainty before you act, you will die waiting. If you demand results and refuse to quit, you will make progress regardless of circumstance. Look around you. The world is full of men and women who started strong, who were full of enthusiasm, who shouted their goals from the rooftops. Where are they now? Most have vanished, retreated into the anonymity of quitters. It is not the intensity of your desire at the beginning that counts, but the durability of your will when the journey gets long. Persistence is not a single act. It is a way of life, a code you choose to live by. The man who persists becomes the man who is trusted, respected, and remembered. Let your mind absorb this truth. The most precious things in life, wealth, influence, love, fulfillment, are reserved for those who refuse to quit. You cannot bargain with this law. You can only submit to it or be ruled by it. Every time you quit, you set a ceiling on your life. Every time you persist, you smash through that ceiling and create a new standard for what is possible. The world does not care about your intentions. It responds only to your endurance. Make your persistence visible in everything you do. Let others see that you are the kind of person who finishes what you start, who honors your word, who refuses to accept defeat as final. This reputation becomes your currency. Opportunities flow to those who are known for their reliability and grit. You do not need to outsmart, outtalk, or outmaneuver the competition. You simply need to outlast them. Finally, let me warn you. Persistence is a lonely path. You will lose friends. You will be misunderstood. You will be called obsessed or unrealistic. Do not seek validation from those who have already quit on themselves. Their opinions are a reflection of their own limitations, not your potential. Surround yourself with those who value persistence, who celebrate your victories and encourage you during setbacks. And when solitude becomes your only companion, remember, persistence is always rewarded, even if the reward is delayed. The final prize always goes to the last one standing. So draw a line in the sand. Decide, here and now, that you will no longer allow quitting to have a voice in your life. Embrace the power of persistence, and you will discover a strength you never knew you possessed. All the greatness you seek is on the other side of persistence. Do not quit. Persist, and you will succeed. Understand that the world you see is a direct reflection of your internal persistence. Your outer circumstances are nothing but the echo of the inner battles you've won or lost. If you look at your life and see a field scattered with unfinished projects, half-hearted efforts, and dreams that never made it past the planning stage, the root cause is a habit of quitting too soon. This habit is insidious because it disguises itself as practicality, as moving on, as changing direction, when in truth it is nothing but an escape from the discomfort of real growth. Growth demands persistence. Growth is uncomfortable. Those who persist are those who can bear that discomfort until it turns into mastery. You must develop a ruthless honesty with yourself about why you quit. Was it because your goal was truly wrong for you, or because the work became more demanding than your temporary enthusiasm could sustain? Did you really lose interest, or did you lose faith in your ability to overcome challenges? These are the questions that separate the successful from the perpetual beginner. Until you confront the real reason you quit, you will repeat the pattern endlessly. There is no shame in admitting the truth. In fact, honesty is the birthplace of persistence. When you admit you quit because you wanted comfort more than you wanted victory, you finally regain the power to change. The world has always belonged to those who persist beyond reason. The greatest inventions, the most awe-inspiring feats, the fortunes that shaped nations, none of these came from men who gave up easily. The persistent see obstacles as tests, not signs to turn back. They know that the moment you want to quit is the very moment you must push forward. Why? Because that is the moment when you are finally being tested, when your old self is about to be replaced by a new, stronger version. Every time you press forward in the face of adversity, you drive a wedge between your former limitations and your expanding capacity. This is the secret to outgrowing your circumstances. Persistence is the only tool sharp enough to carve a new reality from the raw material of your current life. Let's examine what really happens when you choose to persist. First, you encounter resistance, maybe from the world, maybe from people around you, but most often from within yourself. Your mind whispers, "Why bother? It's too hard." You're not getting results. Wouldn't it be easier to just walk away? If you are like most, you've heeded this whisper more times than you care to count. But here is the truth. That voice is not the voice of wisdom. It is the voice of fear, masquerading as logic. The only way to silence it is to move forward anyway, to prove through action that you will not be governed by your lesser instincts. This is how you build the internal muscle of persistence. As you continue to push, you develop something the quitter will never know: resilience. You find out that pain does not last forever, that frustration fades, that uncertainty is the soil from which all progress grows. This is where transformation occurs, not at the beginning, when excitement is high, nor at the end, when the finish line is in sight, but in the lonely, difficult middle, where most turn back. Persistence is a habit, not a one-time act. It is cultivated daily, in moments when no one is watching. Your private victories, your silent battles, these are what build the public triumphs everyone envies but few understand. Consider how the world rewards persistence. When you stay committed to a path, you become known as someone who follows through, someone who can be trusted. Doors open for you, not because of your genius, but because of your reliability. People want to align themselves with those who finish what they start. Opportunities gravitate toward those who have proven they will not run at the first sign of trouble. This is one of life's simplest but most powerful truths. The persistent are always in demand. Persistence, however, must be paired with flexibility. If your plan is not working, don't quit, adjust. Change the strategy, not the goal. The river does not stop flowing when it encounters a rock. It finds another path. Your task is not to stubbornly repeat the same mistake, but to adapt with intelligence, to persist in purpose, but vary the method. The only true failure is giving up altogether. Every setback is feedback. Every obstacle is a lesson. If you persist with a willingness to learn, every failure becomes a stepping stone to eventual triumph. You must also beware of the people around you, for the world is full of quitters who will try to recruit you into their ranks. They will tell you that your persistence is foolish, that you're wasting your time, that life is too short to struggle. Listen closely, and you will hear the resentment in their voices, the disappointment they carry for having abandoned their own dreams. You must not allow their fears to infect your determination. Remember, mediocrity loves company, but greatness demands solitude. Stand alone, if you must, in defense of your vision. You will be misunderstood. You may even be mocked. Let these be the badges of your persistence. As you persist, expect discomfort. Expect criticism. Expect long stretches when progress is invisible, when nothing seems to be changing. This is where most falter, for they believe that visible results must always follow effort. But the universe does not operate on your timetable. Sometimes results come only after months or years of unseen labor. Sometimes you must build your foundation in darkness before the world can witness your light. Trust in this process. If you keep going, you will reach a point where effort compounds, where momentum carries you forward, and where you break through barriers that seemed unyielding. Persistence transforms not only your results, but your self-image. Every time you keep your word to yourself, your self-respect deepens. You begin to see yourself as someone who can be trusted, someone whose dreams are worth pursuing. This new identity becomes your strongest asset, a shield against the setbacks and disappointments that will inevitably come. You become immune to the seduction of quitting, for you have tasted the unique satisfaction that comes only from finishing what you start. Let me be clear. You will be tempted to quit. This temptation is universal and relentless. The question is not whether you will feel like quitting, but what you will do when the feeling arises. Will you retreat as you have in the past, or will you stand firm, recommit, and keep going? The man who masters this choice, who makes persistence his default response to difficulty, becomes unstoppable. He discovers that willpower, like any muscle, grows stronger with use. Each act of persistence makes the next one easier until perseverance becomes a way of life. You must create rituals of persistence. Write down your goals. Review them daily. Remind yourself why you started. Surround yourself with reminders of your commitment, quotes, symbols, mentors who exemplify persistence. Cut off all avenues of retreat. Make quitting more painful than continuing. Hold yourself publicly accountable if that's what it takes, but never, ever permit yourself the easy escape of giving up. When your mind sees that there is no other option but victory, it will mobilize resources you never knew you had. Finally, celebrate every victory, no matter how small. Each milestone reached through persistence is evidence that you are on the right path. Do not belittle your progress by comparing yourself to others. Measure yourself only against the man you were yesterday. Progress, however slight, is proof that persistence works. Let your victories fuel your determination to persist even further. Do not deceive yourself. Success is always a test of endurance. The finish line belongs to those who simply refuse to stop running. Make this the rule by which you live. Persist until you win. Your life will never be the same. There comes a moment in every life when you stand face to face with your own threshold. Not the threshold of what the world says you can do, but the threshold of what you have proven you are willing to endure, overcome, and rise beyond. In that moment, persistence becomes the dividing line, not between success and failure, but between a life of power and a life of regret. You must understand this. Every great achievement demands a price, and the currency is consistent, unbroken persistence. Most men never pay it. They want the reward without the grind, the recognition without the toil, the transformation without the suffering it requires. But the world is not moved by wishes. It is moved by the one who persists when everyone else has fallen away. The first lie you must uproot is the belief that successful people never feel discouraged. They do. They feel fear, frustration, disappointment, and doubt just as sharply, sometimes more sharply, than those who quit. The difference is not in their emotions, but in their response. They feel the pressure and push deeper. They feel the uncertainty and strengthen their commitment. They feel the fatigue and take another step anyway. Persistence is not the absence of emotion. It is the mastery of emotion. You must decide that no feeling, no matter how strong, will override your commitment to your vision. Think of how many times you've begun something with excitement, only to let the fire fade when the work became difficult or slow. You convinced yourself you needed a break, or that the timing wasn't right, or that you would return to it later. But dreams die in those pauses. Every time you stop, you lose momentum. Every time you quit, you reinforce the identity of someone who gives up. And identity is powerful. It dictates your actions even when you're not aware of it. If you want to be a man of persistence, you must rebuild your identity, one decisive action at a time. You must become the person who keeps going even when circumstances argue otherwise. Understand the psychology of the quitter. He seeks safety. He seeks certainty. He wants guarantees before he exerts effort. He wanders from idea to idea, waiting for something easier or faster to show itself. But life never offers shortcuts to the man who hunts for comfort. It only opens doors for the man who builds strength through repeated persistence. A quitter's life becomes a maze of unfinished paths, and every unfinished path drains him of power. You must break this cycle by finishing something, anything, through sheer force of will. Completion awakens the warrior within you. It tells your spirit, I am a finisher. I am a man who sees things through. Once that truth anchors itself in your mind, persistence grows stronger with each new challenge. Let us go deeper. Persistence is not merely a habit, it is a discipline of thought. Your mind must be trained to reject discouraging thoughts with the same decisiveness a warrior rejects fear. Every time your mind whispers, it's too hard, you must respond, and I will do it anyway. When it says, you're not ready, you must declare, I will grow into readiness. When it says, you have failed too many times, you must answer, each failure has prepared me. You cannot allow your mental chatter to sabotage your purpose. The mind is a tool. If you do not wield it with authority, it will wield you with weakness. Many people misunderstand persistence. They think it is a matter of grinding endlessly without rest, pushing themselves to exhaustion without strategy. But persistence is intelligent, not blind. It means holding firmly to your goal while constantly learning, adjusting, improving, absorbing feedback, and outgrowing your past limitations. It means understanding that mastery requires refinement. You do not persist by repeating mistakes. You persist by evolving through them. A wise man is never defeated by failure. He is instructed by it. Now reflect on those who oppose your persistence, not directly, but subtly. Some people will encourage you to quit without even realizing they're doing so. They may say, you've worked hard enough, or maybe it's not meant to be, or you're too stressed, take a break. Recognize these phrases for what they are. The language of average minds who cannot comprehend the price of greatness. Do not let the weaknesses of others seduce you into lowering your standards. The moment you start seeking approval for your persistence is the moment you weaken your resolve. Persistence must come from within. It must be a personal covenant between you and your destiny. When you choose persistence, you will feel isolated at times. You will wake up earlier than others, stay up later than others, and work through periods when others are celebrating, resting, or indulging themselves. Isolation is not a punishment, it is a forge. It is the fire that shapes you, the silence that strengthens you, the solitude that prepares you. Men who fear being alone with their dreams will always seek distraction. Men who persist know that solitude is where visions sharpen into plans and plans harden into results. You must expect to be misunderstood. People will question your intensity. They will doubt your vision because they cannot see what you see. They will assume you are wasting time, chasing something unrealistic. But remember this truth. If everyone understands your dream, it is not a dream, it is a compromise. Your persistence will confuse the small-minded because it exposes their lack of discipline. It forces them to confront the fact that they bowed out where you continued. Your persistence challenges their comfort, and comfort hates confrontation. As you persist through difficulty, you begin to access a level of mental clarity most people never experience. You start seeing opportunities that were invisible before. You begin noticing patterns in your failures and strategies in your setbacks. You start to realize that your obstacles were not barriers but instructions. This shift happens only after the moment most quitters have already given up. There is a hidden threshold in every endeavor. Think of it like a locked door. Most people push it once or twice and walk away. A persistent man pushes 100 times if needed. Eventually, the door opens. Not because it is unbreakable, but because persistence is unstoppable. There is also an energetic principle that must be acknowledged. The universe responds to sustained effort. When you persist, you send a signal that you are serious. You declare through your actions that you are ready to receive what you are building. Doors open that once seemed bolted shut. People enter your life who would never have appeared had you quit earlier. Circumstances begin aligning in ways that feel almost mysterious. This is not magic. It is the natural consequence of unwavering focus. The world bends for the man who refuses to bend. Let us talk about something few people consider. The emotional maturity that comes from persistence. When you persist, you learn patience, discipline, restraint, endurance, emotional control, and the ability to delay gratification. These qualities are the foundation of strong character. Without them, even if you were handed success, you would lose it quickly. Persistence molds you into the person who can sustain success, not just achieve it temporarily. Success does not demand talent, it demands maturity. And maturity is born from persistence. You must also understand that persistence creates internal momentum, a force far more powerful than motivation. Motivation is emotional, momentum is structural. Motivation fluctuates based on mood, weather, energy, and circumstance. Momentum is built on repeated actions, repeated victories, repeated discipline. Once momentum is on your side, quitting becomes harder than continuing. You move forward almost automatically, carried by the force of your own consistency. This is why persistence feels impossible at first, but unstoppable later. To strengthen your persistence, eliminate the escape routes in your life. Remove any habit, relationship, or distraction that pulls you toward comfort instead of growth. Quitters surround themselves with comfort. Winners surround themselves with challenge. You must build an environment that supports your persistence, books that inspire you, people who push you, routines that sharpen you. When your environment aligns with your goals, persistence becomes your natural state of being. Think of the times in your life when you've persisted despite difficulty. You survived heartbreak, loss, failure, disappointment, financial struggle, rejection, and inner conflict. You have persisted through things others couldn't imagine. If you look back at your hardest moments, you will notice a pattern. You always emerged stronger. What makes you think the challenge in front of you now is any different? Persistence has always been your way forward. The difference now is that you must apply it deliberately, not just reactively. and consider the reward that persistence grants you. Self-trust. A man who trusts himself is a man who becomes unstoppable. When you persist, you build a reservoir of confidence that no criticism can shake. You begin to realize that you can handle more than you thought, achieve more than you imagined, endure more than you believed possible. This inner certainty becomes your greatest asset. It makes you bold, decisive, and powerful. Others can doubt you, but you no longer doubt yourself. Finally, understand this. Persistence is not something you do only when pursuing a dream. It must become your lifestyle. It must influence how you think, how you work, how you respond, how you carry yourself. The persistent man commands respect without demanding it. He inspires without trying. He leads without speaking. His life becomes a testament to the power of endurance. Master persistence, and everything else will fall in line. Let this truth carve itself into your mind. You do not need more talent, more support, more luck, or more resources. You need more persistence. Persistence is not an accident. It is the result of a decision, repeated again and again, until the decision becomes a habit and the habit becomes your identity. Most people imagine persistence as a fiery burst of energy, a sprint toward a finish line. That is not persistence, that is excitement. And excitement always fades. The man who wins is the one who keeps moving after the excitement is gone, who keeps building when no one is watching, who keeps his mind fixed on the outcome even as he walks through valleys of boredom, rejection, and obscurity. The world is filled with talented quitters and forgotten dreamers. But there is no graveyard for the truly persistent, for the world cannot bury the man who refuses to stop digging. If you study those who rise from nothing and achieve the seemingly impossible, you will find that their persistence was rarely praised while they labored. In fact, they were often criticized for trying too hard, working too late, being unrealistic, or obsessing over a dream. You must not let the voice of the world override the voice of your own vision. The masses love the spectacle of a winner, but they never cheer for the process. They clap when you cross the finish line, but they yawn while you're running in the dark. Remember, applause is for the finishers, but growth belongs to the relentless. Your greatest advantage is that you can outlast the crowd's attention. When others are distracted by trends and fads, you can sink deeper into your craft and become irreplaceable. One of the primary enemies of persistence is the illusion of overnight success. You see the man who becomes a champion, and you hear how quickly it seemed to happen. But what you do not see is the endless grind, the failures, the doubts, and the days when quitting seemed easier than continuing. Every overnight success is built on a foundation of invisible persistence. Do not be seduced by the stories of instant results. Instead, anchor yourself in the reality that all progress is cumulative and that most breakthroughs happen just after the point where most people quit. Let us confront the truth about discomfort. If you desire persistence, you must develop a relationship with discomfort that is not adversarial but instructive. Discomfort is not a signal to quit. It is a sign that you are being stretched into a new version of yourself. Weak men run from discomfort and so remain trapped within the boundaries of their current lives. Strong men use discomfort as a training ground. When you feel the urge to escape the pain, remind yourself that this very sensation is sculpting your character. Every moment you persist through discomfort, you build a reserve of mental strength that will serve you when challenges grow greater. You will often hear the advice, listen to your body, or listen to your feelings. But you must be wise enough to know that your body and your feelings are built for survival, not greatness. They seek equilibrium, safety, and the familiar. If you only listen to them, you will never persist beyond your limits. True progress demands that you override the signals of ease and complacency. You must train your mind to interpret fatigue as a sign to press on, to see setbacks as feedback, and to use disappointment as fuel for your next effort. It is this transmutation of negative energy into purposeful action that separates the rare achiever from the multitude of wishers. Let's turn to the role of patience in persistence. Patience is not passive. It is the highest form of action. It is the decision to continue with faith when evidence is not yet visible. Impatience destroys persistence because it convinces you that your effort is wasted if the reward is not immediate. Remember, the laws of cause and effect are never suspended for your convenience. The harvest will come only after the seeds are nurtured with consistency, not just intensity. Be patient with your results, but impatient with your excuses. Never rush the process. Only increase your effort and refine your methods. It is vital to recognize that persistence is cumulative, not isolated. Every day you show up, you compound your momentum. Every challenge you endure adds a layer to your resilience. The results may not be obvious at first, but time magnifies the effects of small, repeated actions. If you persist at a goal for a month, you may see some change. Persist for a year, and your entire life could look different. Persist for a decade, and you become legendary. Most men are outpaced not by superior skill, but by superior duration. Remember, the man who will not be stopped will not be denied. You must guard against the subtle poison of comparison. It is easy to look at the progress of others and feel inferior, frustrated, or defeated. But you are not racing against anyone except the lesser version of yourself. The only metric that matters is whether you have persisted further than you would have yesterday. Comparison is a distraction, and distractions weaken persistence. Anchor yourself in your own lane, fix your eyes on your personal vision, and measure progress by your growth, not someone else's. Every goal will, at some point, seem out of reach. The novelty will wear off, challenges will multiply, and the road will appear endless. This is the universal test. You are being asked, do you want this badly enough to keep moving forward when progress is slow or invisible? Do you possess the patience to endure setbacks without surrendering your will? Do you have the discipline to refine your approach, the humility to learn, and the faith to keep going when even you start to doubt yourself? This is where most give up. But if you persist, especially when it seems foolish to continue, you tap into a reservoir of power that most never discover. Consider the importance of environment in sustaining your persistence. Your habits are shaped by your surroundings. Your routines are influenced by the people you associate with, and your energy is either drained or fueled by what you expose yourself to daily. If you persist in a toxic environment, your strength is sapped and your resolve weakened. If you cultivate an environment of growth, books, mentors, routines, even silence, persistence becomes your default response. Be ruthless about removing negative influences and relentless in installing habits that reinforce your ambition. Persistence also demands clarity. If you are vague about your goal, you will be quick to abandon it. Vague desires create weak commitment. Specific goals, visualized clearly, inspire tenacity. Know exactly what you want. Write it down. See it in your mind's eye every day. Feel the satisfaction of its achievement before it happens. When your vision is sharp, quitting is no longer a temptation. It is an impossibility. There will be days when your best efforts produce little visible result. These are the most important days to persist. The world's rewards do not always flow on your schedule, but your persistence guarantees eventual return. When nothing seems to work, keep going. When doors slam shut, keep knocking. When no one encourages you, encourage yourself. The man who persists in the face of silence becomes his own source of power. He learns to generate motivation from within, unaffected by the moods or opinions of others. Discipline is the muscle that supports persistence. Motivation is fleeting. Discipline is reliable. Build routines that do not depend on how you feel. Create non-negotiable habits, a daily effort, a morning ritual, an evening review. The structure you create will outlast the storms of emotion. Discipline is self-respect in action. When you keep promises to yourself, you prove that you are worthy of your own trust. That trust is the foundation upon which all future persistence is built. Never underestimate the power of small wins. Persistence is forged in the daily victories that others dismiss as insignificant. Each time you resist the urge to quit, each time you push a little further, each time you choose to stay the course, you reinforce the identity of someone who finishes what he starts. Over time, these small wins accumulate into massive results. The man who waits for the big moment to persist will miss a lifetime of progress. Make persistence your way of life, not a strategy reserved for special occasions. Let's address the role of belief. You cannot persist in a cause you do not believe in. If you do not believe you can succeed, your effort will be half-hearted, your discipline shallow, and your resolve brittle. Belief is not blind hope. It is a decision. Decide that your goal is possible. Decide that you are worthy. Decide that you will find a way. When belief and persistence unite, you become unstoppable. Life is a series of seasons. There will be seasons of planting, when you work hard but see little progress. Seasons of growth, when results begin to show. Seasons of harvest, when rewards are plentiful. And, inevitably, seasons of winter, when circumstances are harsh, opportunities are scarce, and motivation feels impossible. Most people only persist through the spring and summer, then quit at the first sign of winter. But the man who survives the winter always enjoys the richest harvest. Learn to love the winter. It is proof that you are on the path less traveled. You may encounter betrayal, envy, sabotage, or injustice on your journey. Do not let these become reasons to quit. They are the price of persistence in a world that fears it. Instead, transmute every obstacle into fuel. Use adversity to sharpen your determination, to test your resilience, to clarify your mission. The greatest men in history persisted through far worse than you will likely ever face. Their secret was not immunity to pain, but refusal to surrender. Persistence will require you to reframe failure. Failure is not the end, it is information. Each setback reveals a lesson, a weakness to be corrected, a strategy to be refined. The persistent man is always a student, never a victim. He studies his losses, extracts wisdom, and adapts his approach. With each failure, he grows stronger, more resourceful, more creative. If you are willing to persist through enough failures, you guarantee eventual success. The only way to fail permanently is to quit permanently. It is essential to remember that persistence is not solitary. Seek allies, not approval. Find those rare individuals who share your hunger, who refuse to quit, who will push you to stay the course when your own resolve wavers. Share your victories, but also your struggles. Iron sharpens iron, and your persistence will strengthen others as theirs strengthens you. Build a brotherhood of the persistent. In unity, there is unbreakable power. Above all, let your persistence flow from purpose. If your goal is shallow or borrowed, your willpower will fail. If your purpose is deep, personal, and meaningful, you will endure storms that would break other men. Reconnect with your why every day. Let it light a fire within you that no external obstacle can extinguish. A man with a purpose can endure any pain. A man without it will surrender at the first discomfort. In the end, persistence is not just about achieving goals. It is about forging a soul capable of greatness. It is about becoming the man who is unmoved by circumstance, unbroken by defeat, and unyielding in the pursuit of his vision. The persistent man is a force of nature. He bends the world to his will, not by force, but by refusal to give up. The world belongs to those who persist. Choose persistence, and you will find that there is nothing you cannot achieve, no dream you cannot reach, and no obstacle you cannot turn into victory. There is a secret, a law of the mind, known only to the few who have struggled past the boundaries of mediocrity. Persistence is not merely the act of continuing, but the art of becoming. You are not simply dragging yourself through endless effort. You are forging yourself into a new person, one with a backbone of iron and a mind no disappointment can break. Most men turn back at the first sign of resistance, mistaking obstacles for barriers. But the one who persists discovers that every obstacle is a stepping stone, every setback a test, and every defeat an invitation to mastery. To understand true persistence, you must recognize that it does not thrive in isolation. It must be cultivated with intention, protected from sabotage, and deliberately strengthened every day. Begin by eliminating the common enemies of persistence. The first is the subtle poison of doubt. Doubt creeps in when your goals are vague or when your reasons are shallow. The cure is clarity. Write your vision with precision. Know exactly what you want and why you want it. The mind, once given a clear destination, will hunt for solutions instead of inventing reasons to quit. The clearer your vision, the deeper your well of persistence. The second enemy is the comfort of the familiar. Most people would rather remain trapped in mediocrity than risk the pain of growth. They tell themselves lies. It's not the right time. I don't have what it takes. I'll start tomorrow. These lies lull them into the sleep of wasted years. If you want to outgrow the masses, you must kill these lies daily. Action, not intention, is the remedy. Each day you move. No matter how small the step, you weaken the chains of comfort and reinforce the habit of progress. Action builds confidence. Confidence builds persistence. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you teach your mind that your word is law. The third enemy is distraction. We live in an age of infinite noise, entertainment, endless opinions masquerading as advice. Every distraction is a thief. It robs you of time, energy, and focus, the essential ingredients of persistence. You must wage war on distraction. Turn off the noise. Block out the world's demands on your attention. Guard your mornings with ferocity. Let the first hours belong to your vision, not to the chaos outside. Build rituals that signal to your mind that these moments are sacred, not to be violated by trivia. The man who controls his attention controls his destiny. Persistence also demands that you outgrow your old self. Every level of achievement requires a new version of you, a version that can withstand more, believe bigger, and persist longer. You must become comfortable with outgrowing people, habits, and even parts of yourself that no longer serve your goal. Many around you will not understand this. They may accuse you of changing, of thinking you're better, or abandoning the old ways. Remember, the crab who tries to leave the bucket is always pulled back by the others. Do not allow those who fear change to keep you trapped in sameness. Your life is your responsibility, and your destiny belongs to you alone. It is crucial to internalize that progress is not always visible. There will be stretches where you feel stuck, where every effort seems wasted, where nothing you do moves the needle. This is the true test of persistence. In these invisible seasons, most abandon the path. They mistake the silence for failure. But the law of gestation is at work. Just as seeds germinate below the surface before sprouting into the sun, your actions are building momentum out of sight. If you surrender now, you will never see the fruits of your labor. Hold the line. Endure the silence. The breakthrough is always closer than you think. Another pillar of persistence is adaptability. Too many confuse stubbornness with persistence, clinging to failed strategies out of pride or fear. True persistence is flexible. If a door won't open, find another. If the path is blocked, build a new one. The world rewards those who refuse to accept defeat, not those who mindlessly repeat the same mistakes. Study your results. Reflect on what is working, what isn't, and what needs to change. Make adjustments with humility and speed. Persistence is not the refusal to quit. It is the refusal to stop learning and growing until you win. Let us not forget the vital role of energy management. You cannot persist with a depleted body or a foggy mind. Your physical state is the foundation of your will. Treat your body as an ally in your pursuit. Move daily. Eat for energy, not comfort. Rest deeply, for the persistent mind is sharp, not sluggish. Most people sabotage themselves by ignoring their body's needs, then blame a lack of motivation when they falter. You are a whole system. Your physical, mental, and emotional states are interlinked. Nurture all three, and your persistence will become effortless. You will find that persistent men are rarely those who seek permission or validation. They move with a quiet certainty, indifferent to applause or criticism. They know that approval is fleeting and that the crowd's cheers cannot carry them through the valleys. Seek validation only from your future self, the version of you who will thank you for not quitting when it was hard, boring, or lonely. Every act of persistence is a deposit in the bank of self-respect. The more you persist, the less you need external approval and the more unstoppable you become. Let's now address the inevitable relationship between persistence and failure. Most people quit at the first sign of defeat because they misunderstand its purpose. Failure is not a verdict. It is a tutor. Each defeat carries with it the seed of improvement, but only for those humble enough to study it. Analyze every setback. Ask, what can I learn? What must I change? What did I do well? The persistent man does not fear failure. He uses it as a forge. Each time you rise from defeat, you increase your capacity for victory. Over time, you become immune to fear, for you know that every loss is temporary and every lesson is a step forward. You will, on your journey, be tempted by the mirage of shortcuts, the promise of easy riches, overnight mastery, instant rewards. Resist them all. Nothing worth having comes quickly, and every shortcut exacts a hidden cost. True power is found in the long game. The man who is willing to endure, to outlast, to build brick by brick, is the man who ultimately wins. Remember, every shortcut you take delays your arrival. Embrace the grind. Find joy in the process. When you do, you become a force of nature, unhurried, unbreakable, inevitable. Persistence also requires that you learn to forgive yourself. You will falter. You will break promises to yourself, slacken in your discipline, or lose focus. Do not let these moments become identities. The persistent man recovers quickly. He does not wallow in self-pity. He acknowledges his misstep, extracts the lesson, and returns to the path. The standard is not perfection, it is progress. Be relentless in your return. The man who stands up one more time than he falls is the one who cannot be beaten. Let us talk about purpose. If your goal does not move you, you will not persist. Your why must be so strong that it burns through fatigue, boredom, and discouragement. If your reason is weak, your effort will be weak. Build a vision that excites you. Tie it to something bigger than comfort or status. Perhaps it is the legacy you wish to leave, the people you want to serve, or the potential you feel burning inside. When your why is mighty, persistence becomes a natural extension of who you are. Many quit because they underestimate the power of compounding. Small, consistent efforts, repeated over time, yield results so massive they seem miraculous. The persistent man understands that each day's work adds to the invisible balance of progress. You may not notice the difference in a week or even a month, but over years, the difference is staggering. The masses give up because they want immediate feedback. The wise persist, knowing that the score is kept by time, not by today's results. As you walk the road of persistence, remember that mastery is a journey, not a destination. There is no final arrival, no ultimate finish line. There are only new levels to ascend. Stay curious. Be a student forever. The persistent man asks better questions, seeks better methods, and refuses to become complacent. The world changes, and so must you. Stagnation is the first step toward defeat. Evolve with intention, and your persistence will keep you perpetually ahead of the curve. Above all, cultivate gratitude for the journey. Every challenge is a gift, every struggle a blessing, every delay a lesson. The man who persists with gratitude finds joy in the process, and this joy fuels him where motivation cannot. Celebrate the small wins, honor your own resilience, and give thanks for every day you get to build your dream. Gratitude transforms obstacles into opportunities and makes the journey its own reward. The world does not owe you ease, applause, or comfort. It does not care if you quit, and it will not mourn your surrender. But if you persist, if you decide that your dreams are non-negotiable, the world will yield. It always has. The mountains that seemed immovable will move. The doors that were locked will open. The opportunities that once eluded you will seek you out. For the universe conspires in favor of the man who refuses to be denied. Remember, persistence is not a feeling, but a decision. It is not a talent, but a habit. You do not wait to feel persistent. You act, and persistence is the reward. With every step you take in the direction of your dream, no matter how small, you become the architect of your destiny. Every other force in the world is temporary, but the will of a persistent man is eternal. Make persistence your default. Let quitting become unthinkable. Hold the vision, trust the process, and refuse to let temporary pain distract you from permanent greatness. There are only two types of people in the world, those who wish and those who persist. Decide today which you will become, and watch as the world transforms before your unwavering resolve. This is the moment where you must look yourself squarely in the eye and ask, how badly do I want this life I dream about? There will be 1,000 answers, 1,000 temptations to accept good enough, but only one truth: your results are the sum of your persistence. Everything else is noise. All your plans, all your ambitions, all your visions for greatness mean nothing if you do not outlast your obstacles. The world does not bend to wishes. It bows to those who refuse to give up. You must become relentless, for the finish line does not come to the faint of heart. It appears at last to the man or woman who simply never stopped moving forward. Persistence is not only the engine that drives achievement, it is the test of your character. It is the slow burn, the steady hand, the willingness to keep swinging even after your arms are tired and your mind is tempted by defeat. There will be days when your mind screams for rest, when your body aches, when the weight of discouragement feels impossible to carry. But these are the exact days where success is forged. The world is full of clever, talented, even brilliant people who will never reach their potential because they quit when the pressure mounted. Understand this. Quitting becomes a habit, just as persistence does. Choose wisely, for you are always in the process of training yourself to endure or to escape. You may have noticed that the greatest successes do not often belong to those who started with the most resources, the best connections, or even the highest intelligence. They belong, almost without exception, to those who simply would not accept failure as final. They may have failed more times than anyone else, but to them, each setback was a rehearsal for their triumph. They learned to take every no as a challenge, every defeat as a signal to regroup and attack with even greater focus. Persistence, then, is not a single act. It is a philosophy, a refusal to be broken, a commitment to see things through regardless of how bleak things appear. True persistence must be internalized to the point that it becomes your automatic response to adversity. At first, this will be difficult. Your instincts may cry out for comfort, for escape, for a return to the safety of your old ways. But each time you resist the urge to quit, you grow stronger. Each battle won against your own doubts carves a new groove of determination in your mind. Over time, this becomes your default setting. You no longer need to debate whether to continue or to surrender. You simply persist because you have become persistence personified. To further entrench this quality within yourself, begin by embracing discomfort as a sign of progress. There is no growth inside your comfort zone. If you feel uneasy, anxious, even a little afraid, congratulate yourself. You are on the edge of evolution. Most people will turn back at this point. You must not. Learn to view discomfort as the threshold you must cross to reach new levels of achievement. The greatest things in life are reserved for those who are willing to endure what others avoid. Guard your thoughts with more vigilance than a king protects his treasure. The quality of your self-talk determines your stamina. When you catch yourself complaining, blaming, or making excuses, stop. Replace those words with declarations of intention and power. I am not done yet. I will figure this out. I will not surrender. Language is not just communication, it is programming for your mind. Persistent people are relentless in the language they use with themselves. They do not tolerate the weak, self-pitying narratives that sap their energy. They replace them with commands that move them forward. It is crucial to understand that persistence is rarely rewarded instantly. You will often toil in the dark, unseen and uncelebrated. There will be no applause, no fanfare, no instant validation. This is where most give up. They equate silence with failure. But remember, the universe is always watching. Every ounce of effort, every drop of sweat, every late night, every early morning is a deposit in the vault of your future. Do not be fooled by the quiet. Compound progress is building beneath the surface, ready to explode when you least expect it. Your job is to stay in the game long enough for your breakthrough to appear. Find your own rhythm, your own pace. Persistence does not require frantic, desperate effort. It demands steadiness, consistency, a refusal to disappear. Do what you said you would do every day, whether you feel like it or not. This is how champions are built, not by surges of motivation, but by the discipline of daily action. Set clear, achievable milestones and celebrate every one you cross. Small wins fuel the next, and before you know it, the mountain you feared is behind you. Along this journey, there will be storms, setbacks that shake your resolve, failures that wound your pride, losses that test your faith. This is inevitable. You must never let a single failure define your future. The men and women who succeed are those who stand up one more time than they fall. The world does not expect perfection. It demands perseverance. Forgive yourself quickly for your stumbles, but never excuse yourself from your obligations to your dream. Each day offers a new opportunity to persist. Be vigilant about your environment. Surround yourself with people who fan your flames, not those who pour water on your aspirations. Your energy is precious. Protect it. Distance yourself from cynics and chronic quitters. Seek out the company of those who are fighting their own battles with grit and resolve. Their example will strengthen your own. No one climbs a mountain alone, and neither should you. Find your tribe, and let their persistence reinforce your own. Know this: persistence must be coupled with faith. Faith in your purpose, faith in your capacity to grow, faith that the universe responds to effort with reward. There will be times when you have nothing left but faith. Hold on to it. The history of all achievement is the story of men and women who believed in their mission long before there was any visible evidence. Let faith be the anchor that keeps you rooted when the winds of adversity howl the loudest. You will, at some point, encounter a wall so high that it seems insurmountable. This is not the end of your story. The wall is there to test your resolve, to separate the pretenders from the contenders. When you hit that wall, dig deeper. Take one more step. If you cannot go over, go around. If you cannot go around, go through. Every wall has a weakness, every barrier a flaw. Your job is to persist until you find it. Remember, the wall does not move, you do. As you press on, learn to cultivate patience. Persistence is the twin of patience. You must be willing to play the long game to outlast the seasons of drought and disappointment. Impatience is the downfall of many. They want results now, so they hop from project to project, never building momentum. The persistent man digs in, embraces the process, and lets time become his ally. He knows that the tallest trees are slow to grow, but their roots run deep and their shade lasts for generations. If you want to guarantee your own success, make persistence non-negotiable. Turn it into a code you live by, not an option you consider when things get hard. Burn the ships, eliminate the escape routes, commit fully. Half-hearted effort produces half-hearted results. Full commitment is the only way to draw out the reserves of strength you did not know you possessed. With every fiber of your being, decide that quitting is not on the table. You will adapt, you will learn, you will outlast. This is the mindset of the truly great. Never underestimate the power of tracking your progress. Keep a record of your victories, your struggles, your lessons learned. Review them often. This is the story of your persistence in real time. It is easy to forget how far you have come when you are focused on the mountain ahead. Looking back will reveal your strength and reignite your resolve. Every page, every entry, every note is proof that you are still here, still fighting, still committed. Let your life become a testament to the power of persistence. Inspire others by your example. The world is desperate for those who will not quit, for those who persist against the odds, for those who believe enough in their vision to see it through. Your persistence will give others permission to pursue their own. Be the lighthouse in their storm, the living proof that nothing is impossible for the man or woman who refuses to yield. Finally, take pride in your struggle. Each challenge, each failure, each victory is a chapter in your legacy. The greatest stories ever told are those of persistence. The most admired leaders, inventors, and creators are not remembered for their ease, but for their endurance. Write your own legend with the ink of perseverance. Let future generations look to your life and learn what is possible when a person chooses persistence over quitting. Understand, this is not merely advice, it is a demand. If you want a life that matters, if you crave success, if you desire to leave your mark, you must embrace persistence as your most loyal companion. Stand up every time you are knocked down. Speak life to your dreams, even when they seem out of reach. Act every day, no matter the obstacles. Persist until your purpose is realized, your vision fulfilled, and your name etched into the story of greatness. This is your call to arms. The world yields to the relentless. Be that force. Let nothing stop you, and success will have no choice but to surrender.